The woman I am talking to today has spent more than 5 decades holding a mirror to the world. Jane One Brown Race Elliott is a teacher, diversity educator, and truth teller. She first ran her now famous Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes exercise on the day after Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, exposing the learned nature of racism like nothing before it. Controversial, courageous, and uncompromising, Jane has challenged classrooms, corporations, and governments to face uncomfortable truths about privilege, prejudice, and power. She's received countless honours, including the National Mental Health Association's Award for Excellence in Education. And if you think her work doesn't apply for you, you are in for a wake-up call. I know she's going to bust my butt today, and I welcome it. For the growth, for the truth, and for the kind of conversation that actually shifts us forward. Jane, welcome. I'm here to listen. Feel free to kick my butt because I really want to learn alongside everyone else. I don't like where the world's going. I don't like that someone like you with your experience and everything has been banned from teaching in universities and colleges in the US this year. Like, seriously, what the shit's going down?
Because the people who are running the show right now are scared to death. They are mostly pale, stale males, and they are absolutely frightened that people that look like me and that people who are not classified as white are going to treat them the way they have treated people who aren't white aren't what we call white over the last 400 years in this country. They are scared to death that people who are other than what we call white believe that we so-called white people practice the golden rule: do unto others as you would have others do unto you. So maybe the way we white people treat people of other color groups is the way we want to be treated. Now that's what white males are scared to death of. What if people think that the way we have behaved toward what we call blacks is the way we want to be treated? You know it isn't. I don't believe in the golden rule. I believe in the platinum rule. Do unto others as others would have you do unto them, not do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I know that a whole lot of people don't want to be treated the way I want to be treated. Practically no tall young male of a light brown color or a dark brown color wants to be treated the way an old white, so-called white, light brown female does. People who are not my age do not want to be treated the way I want to be treated. Now, I've wondered about that for years. And one day I was doing a program for a group, and we had gone out for a break, and I was coming back to the room, and down the hall came a bunch of men that were also in the room. And I came to the door and I thought, let's see if they want to be treated the way I want to be treated. And I opened the door for them. And when those guys got to that dark door, that every one of them was absolutely furious. And I heard them say, who the hell does she think she is? You have to treat others the way they want to be treated.
Yeah.
And the only way to find out how they want to be treated is not to walk up the nearest person who's different from yourself and say, how do you people want to be treated? And I've seen people do that. Instead of researching it, instead of looking and listening and learning, we expect others to teach us what we should have learned by observing, by listening, and by researching. But instead, we expect somebody just to understand what we want and how we want to be treated. It's absolutely infantile go to continue to be this way.
I'm white, light brown. I am born Australian, and I know with privilege that I see the racism that happens in Australia. I've always said I would hate to be a black person in America because I've traveled there and seen how bad people are treated. I travel all around the world as a speaker, and I'm like, what the fuck? We are all people. And in my world, I've always thought we all come from Africa.
Yes.
A little bit of research I've done. And I'm interested because you say your experiment showed that racism is learned, and you say it tracks back to Torquemada. That's
Torquemada, absolutely.
Torquemada.
Was
Yeah.
a was
Tell me
was a
about that.
he was a friar in the Catholic Church in Spain, a vicar in the Catholic Church in Spain, and he had a lot of power, and he decided that he was going to turn all Christians in Spain into Catholics, and he was going to kill those who were Christians. He had killed 2,000 people in the most ungodly, disgusting, inhumane ways, and before somebody made him aware that many of the people he had killed were Christians. And then he realized you can't tell what a person's religion is by looking at them. So he decided he had to find a way to identify, to decide who deserved to live and who deserved to die. And he was going to do it on skin color. Now, everybody on the face of the earth at that time was a shade of brown, just as they are now. But he decided that he would call the lighter skinned people white because white is the color of purity and goodness. He would call the darker skinned people black because black is the color of savagery and evil. And that fool put us at polar opposites in the late 1400s, early 1500s. The word race, to mean a separate group of people, came out of France in 1580. That's how short a time this nonsense has gone on. People were not called black and white before Torquemada. And we need to realize that, and we need to teach that in the schools. We need to teach that in the Sunday schools. We need to teach that wherever we are so that we will realize that this whole mess started with Christianity. And right now it is being perpetuated by Christianity. If you haven't read the book White Evangelical Racism, get it and read it. White Evangelical Racism. The woman who wrote that knows what she's talking about. She's a brown skinned woman and she's brilliant. And you've got to read that book because if you don't read it, you're going to fall into the trap of thinking, well, we Christians know what we're doing. We know what we're doing. And what we are doing is destroying thousands and hundreds of thousands of people every day because of our ignorance. The number one problem in the United States of America is ignorance. And as an educator, the word educator means, it comes from the root duck deuce, which means lead, the prefix e, which means out, the prefix e, which means out, the suffix ate, which means the act of, the suffix or, which means one who does. An educator is one who is engaged in the act of leading people out of where they are. And it's my job to lead people out of the ignorance of racism. There's only one race on the face of the earth, and that's the human race. We are all Homo sapiens. Now, there are a whole bunch of other kinds of races at one time, but the Homo sapiens have outlived all of them. We outnumbered them, we've outlived them. But you're going to find some people with orange hair who have a tendency to have abdominal fat and who have difficulty remembering the last thing they said. And when you see that and you hear that, you say to yourself, there's a Neanderthal. That person is mostly Neanderthal. It's not his fault that he's Neanderthal. It's your fault if you don't stop yourself and say to yourself, wait a minute, I can accept this Neanderthal, but I can't believe everything he says. And once you've seen one Neanderthal, it's easy for you to identify all the others. There aren't very many of them, but we all have a little Neanderthal, but not as much as some people have. Now, why am I saying Neanderthal? Because it's time for us to realize that there's only one human group on the face of the earth that is running the show, and that's those of us who look like you and me. But we didn't come, we, the original people on this earth, didn't look like you and me.
No.
They had very dark skin and very dark hair and very dark eyes because they came out of Africa and they were exposed to a lot of sunlight. So their bodies responded to the light, to the sunlight. They had a lot of melanin in their skin. There are those people running around today who have a lot of melanin in their skin who look like the original people on the face of this earth. The only reason my skin is lighter than my friend's skin is because my ancestors moved farther and farther from the equator, and as they did, their skin, their hair, and their eyes got lighter. Their brains didn't get bigger. They weren't any smarter. In fact, we lost a lot in thinking ability. But however, we are all members of the same group. We all came from the same place, and we've got to get that into the heads of every child who enters a classroom. The next time I hear a teacher say about a little boy who walks in the door, oh, there's one of our little black boys, that teacher is going to lose her job because that is not a black child. Human beings do not come in black and white. We come in shades of brown. And if you want to find your shade of brown, you go to the thesaurus, the thick thesaurus, not the little one, and you look up all the synonyms for brown. If you look up the synonyms for white and black, each of them has about 30 synonyms listed in the thesaurus. Then you look for the synonyms for brown. There are over 180 synonyms for brown in the thesaurus. Did you not know that?
No, I didn't know
See,
that.
nobody seems to realize
No,
that.
that's why I wanted to talk to you. Teach me shit, Jane. That's
I,
crazy.
I tell you, it is crazy. The whole thing is crazy. You compare the number of synonyms there are for black and white, and then look at the synonyms for brown and say to yourself, somebody up there's trying to tell us something here.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Bible, because I read that Bible because I have to. I need all the help I can get, in which it says Jesus had kinky woolly hair and feet of bronze. And I think, oh my Lord, if Jesus walked down the street in Osage, Iowa, they would call the sheriff. They would have him arrested immediately because kinky woolly hair and feet of bronze, we can't have that. People, it's just the whole thing is so utterly, totally ridiculous that it's time to get over it. If you're going to throw the Bible at me, you'd better know what you're talking about. And most of us don't because we don't want to read something that makes the person we kneel to and we pray to have kinky woolly hair and feet of bronze.
Different to us. Yeah, 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 yeah. So
Yeah,
you are an educator. Like language is a huge part of dismantling racism. We have to
words
start working
wor-
words different.
words are the most powerful weapon we have ever devised. We use words to destroy or to construct people and things and ideas all day, every day. And we can use 3 words to destroy a human being. Take him away. That's all it
Mm.
takes. Take him away. And that's all the judge has to say. That's all the so-called president has to say. That's all the king has to say. And when you have a president who thinks he's a king, it's easy for him to say those 3 words. We have to realize that if you think you're a king, it's okay to have killed 41 people in the last 2 weeks, to have murdered 41 people in the last 2 weeks. And that's what our so-called president has done. And he's getting away with it. And we need to do something about that. People all over the world need to realize that you have the right to be out on the ocean or out on the in a body of water in a boat without being afraid that somebody is going to drop a bomb on your boat. You have a right to life, but not unless you have people who are running the show who are not afraid of what you are or what you might be or what you might be doing, but have the power to destroy you without knowing anything about you. And that's exactly the position we're in right now. I've never seen something like this before.
No.
I couldn't imagine that this would ever happen in the United States of America. But you see, right now, we have a person in place of in the office who is trying to divide us instead of having us united. The most important word in the title, the United States of America, is united. And we've got to stop calling this country America because America is everything from the northernmost point of Canada to the southernmost point of South America. All of those people, all of those citizens of all of those countries are Americans. We in the United States of America should be calling ourselves the United States of America. And we should, if you don't want to use all those terms, then you say US because those 2 letters spell us. And it's time for us in the United States of America to say, we are members of the United States of America. We are citizens of this country, which is part of the Americas. But we are us, the United States. I do get off on tangents, don't I? Do you have a
No,
question?
that's a really good tangent. Thank you. I like it.
Yeah, it's time for us to face the truth
Be real.
instead
Yeah.
instead of all this nonsense.
Yeah.
We would we we are we have been lied to for long enough now.
Yeah.
The idea of several different races was a lie. We have put up with it long enough now. Now it's absolutely essential that we admit that there's only one race, we're all members of it, and there's only one color group. When we stop thinking of different races and different color groups, we can bring this thing together. I honestly believe that if everybody on the face of the earth can give up the idea of many different races and to realize that we're all one and that you and I are 30th to 50th cousins. Now, you may not want me for your cousin. You don't have a
Mm.
choice.
I
We
would love to have you as a cousin. I love to think that you're a cousin. Holy shit,
Well,
woman.
you and I are cousins because
Yeah.
our ancestors came from the same place.
Yeah.
They came from a country on the continent of Africa. And it's time for us to admit that we are not separated from one another because of skin color or eye color or gender orientation
Mm.
or anything else that somebody else has come up with to keep us apart.
What do you think women's role is right now to help heal these divisions and remind humanity where we really came from and what's possible? What's our role? I'm a 64-year-old woman. What can I do to help this?
I'm going to be a 92-year-old woman at the end of this month
You're a
if I live
fucking
that long.
legend.
And I'm fortunate that they've let me live this long. I have been threatened with death so often that now when the telephone rings, I think, well, they ought to want to talk to me about insurance or Social Security, or they want to tell me they want to kill me. Those are my three choices now. And I figure, well, okay, here we go again. I can hang up the phone, but I can't stop the nonsense.
Mm,
Women can stop the nonsense. You
right.
have to remember that the word women, we have the word woman for us because we have a womb. Now, I might not use it very much anymore, but I am a woman. And that's important because of that womb and because of that specialty, we can produce a whole lot more men and women. No man can do what we can do. And we also need to realize whether or not they did it deliberately, they had a word for male, they had to find a word for women. So they added the chemical symbol for iron, Fe, to the word male to get the word for a woman. Isn't that interesting?
I never knew that. That is really
Well,
interesting.
yes, I don't know if
How do
that's
we
what
not know
happened,
that
but you
stuff?
look at, well, see, I think that's the way it happened. It makes
Yeah,
sense. Fe is the
totally.
chemical symbol for iron. You add that to word male, and you've got a female. And if you're
Yes,
my
because we're
age, you
stronger
realize,
than men. Iron men,
well,
we're
of course
stronger
they're
than
strong.
men.
Of course they're stronger. We are stronger than men because we have to be. We have to carry those children. We have to give birth to those children if we choose to. We have to raise those children and we have to raise those men. After we marry them, we still have to raise them
Mm,
because every man you marry is a child at heart until he learns how to be a man. And I know men aren't going to appreciate that, but they need to realize that I had a man in my life for 62 years. And the worst thing that ever happened to me was the day I lost him.
mm.
And it takes a long time to realize that he isn't lost. He's in that other dimension. And he's laughing his butt off right now and saying, Jane, be careful, you're gonna make these people really hate you. And he lived with people really hating me for the last 20, 30 years of his life because he was married to the town's only N-word lover. And so and he ran a grocery store. And he would say to me after we moved here to Osage, because we had to move out of Riceville because of the abuse my kids were taking. So if they were going to graduate from high school, I had to get them out of Riceville. So we moved here to Osage, where my husband was running the grocery store. And he'd call me and say, now, Jane, if you want anything from the store, just call me and let me know, and I'll bring it home. And I thought, oh, isn't that kind of him? I thought he was trying to save me a trip to town. I found out later he didn't want people to know who he was married to.
Ah,
He would bring home the groceries and then I wouldn't be in town. And I thought, well, it was really hard for him to be married to the town's only N-word lover.
mm.
But he never indicated that he was tired of being with me. He just indicated that, Jane, watch your mouth. And right now, wherever
Yeah, he
he is,
worried
he's
about
thinking,
you.
Jane, watch your mouth. And that was the thing would have been the thing for me to do if I hadn't heard from my father often. You know the difference between right and wrong. Now do the right thing, goddammit. And the day Martin Luther King Jr. was killed, I knew that the right thing to do was educate my students instead of doing what the rest of the teachers were doing, which was either ignoring that killing or saying it was about time. I found out that's what they were saying in the teachers' lounge the next day, and I was absolutely thunderstruck that women who were teaching about racism weren't teaching about racism. They were teaching racism. I was in the teachers' lounge and the topic of and I brought up the topic of him being killed. And one of those teachers said, I thought it was about time they shot that son of a bitch. And I thought, and you're an educator. And what are you going to say to your students? We aren't going to talk about that. It was time for him to die. I was absolutely furious. And that at that point I decided that I would finish the day with my blue-eyed people on the bottom, my brown-eyed people on the top, because in the morning when they came in, they were all talking about the fact that Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. And we had to discuss what had happened, and we discussed it, and we I finally said, you kids have any idea how it would feel to be other than white in this country? No. Would you like to know? Yeah. Would you like to do something will help you know that today? Yeah, yeah. It was like let's have some more fun. We always have fun. This is always fun. Let's do it, Miss Sally. I said, okay. We're going to judge people by the color of their eyes. And because I'm blue-eyed people are going to be on the bottom the first day. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I mean, blue-eyed people aren't as smart as brown-eyed people. They aren't as clean as brown-eyed people. They aren't as civilized as brown-eyed people. You give blue-eyed people something nice, and what do? Immediately, those little kids said, they wreck it. They wreck it. Look what she does all the time. Her desk is never. I thought, oh my God, these kids know exactly how this works. And I put them through the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise for the day. I could not believe what was happening in my classroom that day. I had been with those kids. This was on April 6th, I think April 6th. And I had been with those kids for 8 months by then, 7.5 months. And they were anxious to destroy one another on the basis of eye color. And in 15 minutes, I created a microcosm of society in that classroom. I would not have believed if somebody had said to me, you do this with those kids and you're going to separate them into people who don't like one another. If somebody had told me that, I would have said, no, my kids love one another. We know how to appreciate one another. That wouldn't bother them. They would not go along with this. They went along with it with total joy, knew exactly how to behave. And I finally thought, oh my God, they're behaving the way they see the adults around them behaving. They know exactly how to be racist because they've been exposed to it for 9 years. What did I think was going to happen? I had I said something wrong that day, and little brown-eyed Debbie sitting in the front row said, "How come you're the teacher here if you got them blue eyes?" And I thought, well, yeah, how dare you? And yeah, in the third grade classroom. And at that point, Ellen Moss in the back row said, well, she's all right. Even if she does have those blue eyes, she's okay. We can understand her, even if she does have those blue eyes. In the afternoon, I pulled down the wall map on the side of, the map on the wall, and the ring slipped off my thumb, and the map went around and around and around the roller with that awful, awful noise. And I said, "Well, I've done it again." And little brown-eyed Debbie once again said, "Well, what expect? You've got blue eyes, haven't you?" And for the first time in my life, I thought, well, you little shit. And then Alan Moss once again spoke up and said, "Debbie, you know her eyes haven't got nothing to do with it. You know she never has been able to do that, right?" And I didn't say, "Alan, don't talk about me that way." I said, "Thank you, Alan," because he became my Uncle Tom. I tell you, I went through absolute hell learning about how I had been teaching children of all ages for as long as I had been alive at that point. Those kids were doing what they had seen people like me do for the first 9 years of their life. So it was awful. And when the kids went home that day, usually they'd say as they got lined up to go home, "Can't we stay? We could stay overnight and we could all sleep on the floor." And I'd say, "No, I'm tired. Go home, go home." That day they couldn't wait to get out of that building and out of that room. They were totally, totally delighted. I went home and told my husband what had happened. He looked at me like, "Oh, Jane, now you put your foot in it. Don't just get over it. Just put a stop to it on Monday." I said, "I can't put a stop to it on Monday. On Monday, I've got to reverse that exercise." And we had plans to go out to the lake with some friends. And the wife called and said, "Jane, we can't go to the lake. Rick's ill. He's got a cold and we can't go to the lake." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll do it another time." So my husband and I, our 4 kids, went out to the lake and walked down toward the lake. And there sat Rick and his mother and father at the picnic table with the rest of their friends. And as we walked toward the lake, one of those people said, "I hope somebody brought the watermelon and some chicken for those people." And my 2 kids, my 2 older kids, were furious. And I said, "Get over it, kids. Let's go." Daryl said, "Forget it. Ignore it. We're going to the lake." So we went to the lake and we fished and we had a good time. That was the last time those people ever called me. We learned the day after I did that exercise, we found out how it feels to be something other than what we call white in the United States of America. And it changed us in every way, shape, and form. We will never be what we were before we walked down to that lake and had that remark made to my kids, who were 2 of them, I think, were in junior high, and one of them was in junior high, and the others were out in elementary school. And that's what they heard from their peers' parents as they walked to the lake. They learned a lot about racism,
Yeah.
and in the ensuing years, they have learned about something about racism every day of their lives, because every day of their lives they are treated differently because they have the N-word lover for a mother. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a compliment.
Yeah.
Better a lover than a hater. If you're going to name me something, call me a lover, but don't
Mm.
call me an N-word hater, because we are all members of that N-word group. We are all shades of brown. And nobody wants to hear that. And I understand that, because if your self image is based on a lie about skin color, you aren't going to want to give up that lie. And right now, we have a whole lot of people who call themselves Black who are determined to perpetuate that myth.
Mm.
We've got to put a stop to it. We've got to put a stop to white and black and take on brown because that's what we all are. And I have 184 words for brown if you want one.
Jane, you've been fighting this like on a mission, a life purpose since that moment. What makes you keep stepping up to the fire instead of stepping back? You're about to turn 92-year-old woman. I love nothing more than you would were willing to come on this podcast. But what makes you keep doing that, knowing that so many people feel threatened by the mirror that you shove in their face? What makes you keep showing up? Because it's such an important message.
I'm an educator. It's my job to lead people out of ignorance. And the number one ignorance worldwide is the ignorance of thinking in black and white, because those two skin colors do not exist in the human race. If you're going to call yourself a skunk or a zebra, go ahead and call yourself black and white. But nobody wants to be called a skunk or a zebra. They want to be called angels. Well, angels don't come in white and they don't come in black. They come in shades of brown. And my father said, you know the difference between right and wrong, do the right thing, God damn it. And so that's what I have to do. I could, a long time ago, I could have said to myself, I don't want to put up with this anymore.
Mm.
People hate me. I'm going to pretend I don't believe what I believe, and I'm going to blend in. And I would have been, I would have been denying everything that my father taught me. And I won't do that. My father was right. He said a man's judged by the company he keeps, and the best of companies none too good. He was right, and he was very careful about the company he kept. And I'm very careful about the company I keep
Mm.
because I know that he was right about that. And those who are the elite aren't always the best people in town. And we need to realize that wealth doesn't necessarily indicate intelligence or morals or scruples or ethics. And I think those three, morals, scruples, and ethics, are more important than wealth and more important than being elite. I'm perfectly happy to be shunned by those around me as long as they are shunning me because I'm saying something they don't want to hear, which is there are no black or white people on the face of the earth. We're all shades of brown. We're all 30th to 50th cousins. Get it into your heads.
Mm. Cousin.
But as I suppose, but,
I
but I
love it.
suppose what keeps me going is I'm just so damned stubborn. I've got the idea in my head that, you know, we're all members of the same race. We're all members of the human race, and we all have the right to be treated in a human way. And if I'm wrong about that, well, time will tell. But right now, nobody's listening because I've been saying the things that our present administration does not want to hear.
Mm. And you've been silenced because of it. So at least we've got these kind of platforms to still get your education out there.
Yeah, because they can't silence me. They can keep
No.
me off college and university campus. But unfortunately for them, I have an iPad and I have a voice.
Yeah.
And as long as I have a telephone and an iPad, I still have a voice. But make no mistake about this, they're going to find a way to fix this kind of thing so that I can't do this. And I understand that. So I've got to say it as fast as I can, as often as I can, because eventually they're going to find a way to shut me up.
I agree. And that's why I was so adamant that I wanted you on my show.
But you have to remember this. If they, and I get death threats all the time. So if they kill me because of what I'm doing about destroying racism, they might make a martyr out of me. And then they might have to spend the rest of their lives celebrating Jane Elliott Day once a year. So these fools are going to keep me alive. They are caught between the rock and the hard place. If they kill me, I'm a heroine. If they let me live, I'm a monster. So here I am, and I'm thinking, go ahead, fellas, take a shot
Give it your
and
best.
think about what's after you do it. Do your best. I know what you're thinking, and I know what I'm thinking, and I know that the idea, somebody has said, no power on earth can stop a man with a dream or an idea whose time has come. Now, I'm not a man and I don't have a dream, but I have knowledge of an idea whose time has come. The idea of one race of shades of brown is an idea whose time has come, and you're not going to be able to stop it. And if you want to survive in comfort and in comfort and in health for all of us, not wealth, but health, then by God, it's time to realize that we're all members of the same race and we all come in shades of brown. And so I have now a sweatshirt. I'm getting printed a sweatshirt on which it says, I'm an SOB and so are you. SOB stands for shades of brown. Now they're going to think it's something else until they read this. And
Love it.
I'm going to take I'm going to take the sting out of SOB
I
and change
love
it
it.
into something to be happy about. I'm an SOB. I'm shades of brown. You don't like it? You are one too. How do you like me now? And I've taken the sting out of the word bitch. I've been called bitch so often that I finally decided, wait a minute. I believe acronyms are extremely powerful. NATO, National, you know. So I believe that bitch is an acronym for being in total control, honey.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, fucking
Every
love
time some man says Yes, every time some man says that to me, I say, thank you
it. Thank
very
you.
much. You just gave
I'm
me the best compliment I've had. What do you mean? That's not a, it's for me. It is for me because you just told me that you think I'm being in total control, honey. How do you like me now? Well, thank you. You want to say it again, fella? I don't have to listen. No, you don't. But from now on, you will be more careful about who you call that word, won't you?
I love it. You have to
Words are
send me a photo of
words.
you in your SOB jumper so that I can put it around the place. I'd love to spread that
Go
word.
ahead.
I will.
SOB
You
stands
send
for
me the
shades
photo.
of brown.
Yeah, totally.
What?
Send me a photo when you get your sweatshirt. I want a photo of you in it. I'm going to spread that high and wide.
Well, well, my daughters and my granddaughters are all going to be wearing sweatshirts on which it says, I'm an SOB, and so are you. And people are going to, oh, and
What's
then my
that?
daughters and granddaughters are going to say, yeah, what it means. What it really means is see that right down here underneath SOB, it says, shades of brown. How do you like me now? I don't think that's, hey, I'm not joking.
It's
This
a
is
way to
not a joke.
educate. Yeah.
It's the way, it's how you educate people. People
Yep.
look at sweatshirts and believe what they say on them. This one
Absolutely.
says, God created one race, the human race. Human beings created racism. People see that and then they read it again. And then they say, where'd you get that shirt? And I say, you want one? Well, yeah, well, I can arrange for have you. You send me the money and I'll get you one. Because I think this sentiment, and I have one that says something the other one I wear about there being only one race. I think people look at your sweatshirt, and if you're old and short and slightly overweight, and got a thing strung over your shoulder, and you're walking to the plane, and they see you going by, and you, know, you get that. What did that say? And they'll sometimes somebody will follow me and say, "Where'd you get that shirt?" And I'll say, "Well, I sent for it. My daughter sells them. You want one? I'll give you her address." Because I think everybody should wear the shirts that say, "Let's send a message that there's a way to change this situation." And there is a way to change this situation. And if you wear a sweatshirt that says, I'm an SOB and so are you, and it says shades of brown, nobody wants to be an SOB unless it's shades of brown, and then it's okay.
Mm,
We can make brown be all right because that's what we all are.
yeah.
We have to recondition ourselves. We have been badly, right now, some psychologists in some college course is saying race is a social construct. No, it isn't. It's an antisocial construct. It's time to stop saying race is a social construct. It isn't. It's an anti-social construct. It is meant to divide us
Mm.
by race, which is means by skin color. It makes no sense. It's time to get over it. It has only been around since 1580. It's time to stop that now. If we haven't learned that by now, if you're going to continue to believe that there are several different races, then men must dress as they did when people believed that, which means they'll all wear pointy toed shoes with little flowers on the top, and they'll wear knee breeches and powdered wigs. And women will all wear corsets so tight that their waists won't be more than 18 inches around. If you're going to live and use the language of the 14 and 1500s, then use the kind of communication and transportation and clothing that they use then. And if you aren't going to go with all of it, then give it all up.
Mm.
Give up the nonsense that they came up with to define people in the 14 and 1500s. It's time to give it up.
Well, they do it because they want to control us. And so they can
Well,
get,
of course,
one race against each other. It's all fucking control.
but they can control us because we are ignorant enough to listen to somebody who is in a position of power.
Yeah.
And when we get to the point where women are able to recognize what's going on around them and realize that there are more of us than there are of them, and that they are absolutely dependent on us for their very life.
Yeah.
Without a woman, you have to remember at least three things. If you don't remember anything else about what I'm saying here today, remember this. Without what we call blacks, there would be no what we call whites. All what we call white are people whose ancestors left the area of the equator and moved far enough north that as they moved farther and farther north, their bodies produced less and less melanin because they were exposed to less and less sunlight. So their hair, their eyes, and their skin got lighter. But if it hadn't been for what we call blacks, there would be no what we call whites. If it hadn't been for Jews, there would have been no Christians. So those of you who are anti-Semitic need to realize that without the Jews, there would have been no Christians. Period. What's his name? Jesus Christ was an Ethiopian Jew. And Mary didn't have blonde hair and pale skin and blue eyes. She was brown like all the rest of us, and so was Jesus Christ. But we have created a curly haired, a light brown skinned man out of a curly haired, dark skinned man because we want to pray to somebody who we think looks like us. So forget that one.
Yeah.
Number three, without women, there would be no men. Period.
Yeah.
You can put two female eggs together in a petri dish, mammal eggs together in a petri dish, break down the cell wall, and come up with another female mammal. They've done it in the laboratory time after time after time. We could have an all male society, female society, if we wanted to. I don't want that. I like men. Boy, do I like men. Men are special. I enjoy. I learned a poem when I was in high school. I like men. They stride about. They reach in their pockets and pull things out. They lay on their toes. They walk on their toes. They lose all the buttons off their clothes. They lose their pens. They find them again. Men are queer creatures. I like men. I like men. And I was married to one for 60 years and loved him for 62 years and still love him. So I don't want to lose men,
No,
but
we
we're
need
going to
balance.
lose them younger. Well, we lose them younger and younger because we are expecting them to do more and more than they are able to do. Most of the women who watch this, if anybody watches it after the first 3 minutes, are going to spend the last 20 years of their lives without male companionship.
Mm.
I'm going through that right now. My mother went through that. My aunts went through it. I don't want my daughters to go through that. I don't want women to lose the most valuable thing that they will ever have, which is the love of a good man. I know the love of a good woman is wonderful too, but I just happen to prefer males. I like them. Anyway, getting right along. Where
You're
were
doing
we?
great. My closest
Go
friends
ahead.
are men. I'm a big old dyke, but my closest friends are men. I think guys are
Oh,
great, but it's just like the rest of them stop being
they
fucking dicks.
I was the fourth child born to my parents, and my mother didn't want a girl; she wanted a boy. And I was born a girl, and I was damned from birth because I was a girl and she wanted a boy. And so she said to the
Same here.
doctor said, "What do you want to name her? What do you not want to name her?" And my mother said, I haven't thought of any boys' names. Dad, Lloyd, you name her." So my dad named me Mabel after his sister, whom my mother hated and who returned the favor. And they let my brother, who was in first grade and reading the Scott Forsman reading series. And so he named me Jane. So for years, when I was in high school and college, men would walk up to me and say, me, Dick, you, Jane. And I'd say, "I knew you were a dick before you said it. Then go find another Jane." And then they get really upset because how could I say such a thing? People, I wasn't born dumb. And
No,
because I was born, the middle and the unwanted, I learned to be really aggressive and really defensive and really mouthy. And I realized that's what I am. But I also realized that you will only have to take this crap if you are willing to put up with it.
true.
It takes a whole lot of people to perpetuate racism. It only takes one to stop it. And
Yeah,
that's each one of us. Each one of us can say, "You will not make that kind of remark in my presence. And if you do, I will see to it that my lawyer calls you, or a lawyer will call you, and you will be taught a better way to respond to other human beings. Racism in the United States of America should have been wiped out a long time ago. We've got all the tools and all the information and the technology to wipe it out. We've also got all the tools and all the technology to perpetuate it and to make it worse instead of better. And if you are ruled by those who think that if you're white, you're all right, then you got a problem.
Mm.
And first, you have to teach kids in school that there's no such thing as a white person. They do not exist on the face of the earth.
Yeah. Jane, if you could go back to your 18-year-old self and tell her something, give her a piece of wisdom with the wisdom you've got today, what would you say to her?
To the 18-year-olds or to
Your,
the little children,
to the 18-year-old you. You didn't know this stuff then. What would you say to
I
you?
would say, I would say you have to realize that there's only one race of people on the face of the earth. Get this into your heads. And human beings do not come in black, white, red, or yellow. Animals do, but human beings do not. We're all shades of brown. It's time to get that into your heads, folks, and it's time to stop judging people on the basis of the lies that you have been told since you were born, because we start teaching you racism from the moment when your mother is carrying you in her womb. We start teaching you, treating you in a racist way. And I know that happens because I have talked to women of what we call women of color, brown women, who had trouble from the moment they got pregnant because of the doctor's attitude toward those who were other than what the doctor called white. And if you know it's happening from birth, then you have to tell your kids from the minute they're born, you aren't white and you aren't black. You're a brown person just like every other human being on the face of the earth. Your skin color does not make you better or worse. It makes you a human being. And here's another thing I do. I would wipe out the Mercator projection map. I would wipe that map out of the schools. Have you seen the Peters projection map?
I've got it up here. You told me about it. I'm going to put a link below this podcast, everyone. Go and have a look at it
Good
because
for you.
I didn't know this existed.
Good for you. Everybody has to see the Peters projection map and
Yep.
realize that we have for about 600 years, at least 600 years, been teaching people a lie about the size, the shape, location, the importance of the land masses on the face of the earth. We've
Yeah.
got to get the Mercator map out of the schools and get the Peters projection map into them. And we've got to have parents who are willing to buy that map and stick it on the wall someplace in their house where kids will see that before they go to school. So that when they go to school, they will say to the teacher, "You got the wrong map up, Miss Brown." And she'll say, "How dare you?" And they'll say, "I'll bring you a different map." And then the kid will come to school with a map like this, a postage size map, and say, "You can have this one, Mrs. Brown. And from now on, you'll be able to teach the truth." Sometimes a little child shall lead them. A little child shall lead them. And that's unfortunate. But because of the way the schools are organized today, and it's getting worse instead of better, teachers are being required not to teach the truth. We are still, they're still celebrating Columbus Day because Columbus discovered America. We are absolutely refused to look at this National Geographic magazine for April of 2018 and see the map that shows when we got here and where we came from. Everybody has to get this magazine, buy the magazine, or go to the library and make a copy of that map, have it enlarged, and hang it on the wall in your house. So that when your kids go to school, they'll say, "Remember how that looked? See, that's when we came here. Columbus didn't discover this. This nation was discovered by people from Africa 15,000 years ago." I want to do away with the idea that Columbus discovered America. You cannot discover a place where people are already living. They discovered it before you got there. It's time for us to get rid of that ridiculous nonsense that we call history. And maybe someday, instead of calling it his story, we'll call it her
Her
story,
story.
since
Yeah.
there are more of us than there are of them. Or perhaps we'll get together and call it our story, because it's the story of all of us, not just him, not just he's. It's not just his story. It's the story of all of us. But that's not the way it's taught. It is, and, we're so enthralled with the Bible And we forget that only one of the books of the Bible was written by a woman. All the rest were written by men. So, of course, it's written from a male point of view. So people have a really difficult time with me. In fact, I got kicked out of the Methodist Church in Osage, Iowa, because I called God she during the service.
You're such a rebel. I
It's,
love it.
happen to think that God is a spirit and has neither gender nor color. I honestly believe that God is a spirit and has neither gender nor color. Now, if you can call it he today, then tomorrow you can call it she. Well, not if you're a Methodist. So the minister came out. He was so pleasant, and we had such a lovely visit. And then he was standing on the bottom step of the steps, and anyway. And he said, "Miss Elliott, could you do me a favor?" I said, "Well, sure, I'd be glad to if I can. What do you want?" He said, "Would you find another place to worship on Sunday morning?" I said, "Well, that's what I said, well, yeah, I can do that, but why would you ask that of me?" He said, "Because my parishioners don't like the words that you use during the service." I said, "Oh, they don't like it when I call God she?" "No, they don't." I said, "Well, you see, I think that God is a spirit and has neither gender nor color." He said, "Well, we don't." He said, "You got a church right next door." And we do. We bought the little old church next door because it's no longer used as a church. Anyway, he said, "Why don't you start a church of your own?" I said, "Maybe I will. Would you like to join?" "No, I don't want to join your church." And he slammed the door open. He literally ran to his car, jumped in, and tore off down the street. All the time he's going down the road, I'm standing here laughing like a fool. I thought, look what I've done. I've destroyed that poor man. Now he doesn't know what to do now, because what if I'm white? Right? What if God is a spirit and has neither gender nor color? He doesn't want to come to my church. No, it was one of those moments that you experience because you dared to say something that is unacceptable.
Mm,
What
mm.
I said was totally unacceptable, and
And yet
so
it's
I
the
don't.
truth to you and me.
You're in
I
my
think the same thing.
well, when you're in my position, you learn a whole lot about people that you didn't want to know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Jane, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you today. It's an absolute honor for me. I'm going to put the links for those of you who are watching this on YouTube. You'll be able to see those two really important maps that Jane showed on the video. But I'm going to put them in a link in the show notes so everyone can click and go and check them out as well. Absolutely enlightening. So you've educated me so much today, Jane. Thank you for your time.
Well, did you learn anything?
Yeah, I did. The 184 shade words, synonyms for brown, that's huge.
That's extremely
And 40
important
for black and white.
because there is word for.
Seriously.
Yeah, every person on the face of the earth can go to the thesaurus
Yeah.
and find a word, and then you look it up in the dictionary, and
Mm.
then you find out what color that is, and then you get what is called the Pantone skin tone guide, and you lay it out and you run your hand over it until you come to a piece that matches the color on the back of your hand, and that the color has a number. And then you take that number as your skin color, but you also look up that color and find it in the dictionary. Find something that is that color described in the dictionary. And then for the rest of a couple of young women called me several years ago and said, from now on, when we have to identify our race on a farm, we're going to put human. I said, good idea. What are you going to put if it calls ask for skin color? One of them said, I'm going to put mocha. The other one said, I'm putting chocolate. I said, good for you. Those are skin colors.
Yeah.
See, we
Yeah.
can change the whole situation by changing the way we use words. They are the most powerful weapon devised by humankind. We better start using them more carefully.
And women are the ones to start this because the white guys are not going to play this game. So I'm so happy to share this information with the women who listen to my podcast. Thank you.
Well, without women, there would be no men. We
Ab-
could we could reproduce asexually if we wanted to have an and the first man on earth was undoubtedly a woman.
Yeah, because
And they
otherwise
have
you
just
have a
come out with
man. Yeah.
yeah, and they've just come out with that recently. And my daughter called me and said, did you read such and such? I said, no, what are you talking about? They've discovered that the first person on earth was a woman. I said, gee, they finally decided that, huh?
Surprise.
Well, they said, yeah, yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for your
you're
time.
welcome.
It's an absolute honor.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate you so much. It makes
Well,
me angry that they've got you, they're trying to silence you, and I will do everything to spread this podcast wide.
spread SOB, shades of
Yeah.
brown, as far as you can. Because if we can get people to say we're all SOBs,
Yeah.
and then have somebody say, "What are you?" It means we're shades of brown. That's the color that human beings come
Yeah.
in because we all came from a place in Africa.
Yeah.
So if we could just get people if we could just get people to see the Peters projection map and the fact that we're all SOBs, we could change this situation. In in the next generation,
Yeah.
we could raise a generation of children who saw people as all equally deserving of human treatment and equally deserving of being appreciated and
Mm.
recognized. We could do that,
Yeah.
but we won't do it as long as we perpetuate the myth of races and five different skin colors. Here's another way you do that. You use your hand. Each of these fingers
Yep.
is a skin color.
Yep.
The thumb is the smallest, so it's the white one. Only 15 to 18% of the human population of the earth is classified as white. And it's a misnomer because we aren't white. The first finger is the black finger. They've been trying to point us to the right direction in years, and we won't listen. The third finger is the largest because every human being on the face of the earth is brown. This is your brown finger. And this is why I say when people do this, I say, oh, you know about the brown finger. The fourth finger is the fourth finger is the yellow finger. Yellow people do not exist. The
Mm.
fifth finger is the red finger. Red people do not exist. We called Native Americans red because we didn't realize that they paint themselves red on special occasions.
Mm.
So here, these five fingers, and then the most important one is this. And if you can just remember that this is the largest finger on your hand because it's the largest group of human beings on the face of the earth. This is the color of all of us. So, hey, hey,
You made my day. You made
you
my
can
day.
remove you can you can remove the word bitch. You can remove the
Yeah.
ugliness of this finger. And what did I say? Then anyone something else that I said.
SOB.
We've got
SOB. Son of a bitch.
POD,
Shades of brown.
SOB. Use SOB, shades of brown. If you just use those three things,
Yeah.
you will totally change the way people relate to you because they'll think you can't trust her. You never know what she's going to say. She's going to turn what you said into an acronym. You don't want that. So they'll be very careful of what they say around you, which is an advantage
Mm.
because that means you don't have
What
to
are they going to
respond to
think?
this nonsense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're going to
Yeah,
think,
you're making them think. And I think that people should be able to walk around and use the words that can make a difference in a positive difference if you dare to say them. And
yeah.
if somebody corrects me on what this shirt says, I'm going to say, well, you see this little brown thing here that says we're all shades of brown. I stick that on there because I think it's absolutely essential that we realize that we're all shades of brown. You don't like it? That's not my problem. That's your problem because you're stuck with it.
And you're educating them. I love it. And I will carry this work of yours forward, I promise. From here on in, I will
Okay.
use your language. Thank you.
All
Yeah.
right, but you must understand that you cannot gain friends and
I don't
influence
give a
people by
shit.
doing.
I'm not here to
Okay,
gain friends. Jane, I'm not. I'm
I don't
64. I'm not
know.
playing nice. I'm here to fucking help fix this world. Serious. I don't
Yep,
like the way it's
yep,
going. I'm going to use my voice.
and
Yeah.
women can do it. Women can do it
Yeah.
because they're scared to death of it. If a
Yeah.
woman stands up and says, "These people are all out of their minds. Let me show you how this really works," and then they're all just shocked because number one, she isn't behaving the way she's supposed to.
Yeah.
Number two, she's making us question our own intelligence. Number three, she said something bright. Number four, maybe there's more here than we realize. Number five, perhaps we should listen to this bitch. And then they'll think, oops, being in total control, honey, we can't do that. So, I ruin their day. I regularly ruin their day.
And you help
But
change the world. And I thank you for that. Thank
thank you for
you.
inviting me to speak to you. And thank you for listening. Thank you for getting a shirt on which it says, I'm an SOB and so are you.
I promise I will. All right.
Okay. And then take a picture of it
Oh,
or
I'll send it to you.
give
Yeah,
me a
yeah, yeah.
call and
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. And then I'll see you wearing a shirt that says I'm an SOB. Okay, thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jane.